who here has a problem with managing their time? Awesome. That makes sense considering you're here for the session. But
okay. So today we're going to discuss a few time managing techniques and so how to lead better productive lives, because we all have busy schedules, and since it's the last session, we're going to have some fun. Okay. So next slide. So I am Rugved Arte. I am a graduate student at the University of Michigan, studying information science and user experience design. I have completed my computer engineering back in Mumbai and worked as a software developer for a year before joining school. Yeah. So
I am also a graduate student at Michigan, and I'm in the Master of Health Informatics program. Before joining this program, I was a dentist in India. I practiced for a year and a half. And yes, I did say dentist. So before we get started, we'd like to know what aspects of your life take up most of your time. It could be family, it could be work, it could be travel. For us, it's probably school, being in grad school and all, but so we would like you to pull out your phones or your laptops and go to this link and then type in whatever takes up your time. You can even text in if you want. Yes, you can.
you can.
I love how there's a UMSI in there. It's University of Michigan School of Information for those who don't know. Exercise. Reddit, I can relate.
Okay, I think we've got enough enough of ideas where you guys spend most of your time on. It seems like it's converging on work and sleep. I think, yeah, that's pretty much it. So here we would play a game to optimize, like, how do you make whatever time you put into work, how do you make the best out of it, how are you using it efficiently. So for that, we're going to play a game.
Okay, it's really simple, but we want you to divide yourselves into groups of 3. So
Like,
find
yeah.
a group, and then I'll tell you the rules.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's fine.
There you go. Yeah. Mike, I'm Chris. What are we supposed to do? Oh,
Does everyone have a group?
Yeah.
We don't want to sleep, right?
I'm Hans. Perfect.
What's your name? Mark's M-A-R-T-A.
okay.
Swedish.
Okay.
Alright, so the rules are really simple. We'll give you a list of 9 tasks, and you need to do all of them, or most of them. How many? 1 task, whatever you can do. And each task has a number of points associated with it. So the end goal of the game is to get as many points as possible. You don't need to follow the order of the list. You can do whatever you want, but get as many points as possible. Hi, Steven. We are making groups.
Just to join a group.
Sorry, but yeah, you can join a group.
Who wants to?
Go with the USI people. But, so yeah. Is everyone clear on that? Should I repeat myself? It's kind of good. Okay.
So,
Oh, and you get 5 minutes.
yeah, you have 5 minutes and your task time starts now.
Okay, so we can walk. So we can make
Is this longer?
Yeah, sure.
Let's pick up You still have
Why don't you combine 9 to 10?
No, we already counted. This is wrong. We're awake now.
Good job. Extra credits for
and they're doing it in less time. Okay guys, if any of the team has finished all the tasks, just let us know.
Write your name on there. Okay.
The full title, Scott. Next one, Sarah.
That means we have to
almost.
Okay, I'll come back. Some people have chosen not to in the end. They're not.
Okay, cool. And if you want to what's the
Yeah.
Okay.
And now, does this say oh?
Oh, that's slogan too.
Oh, that's cute.
You signed something for me.
Yes, I am. Full name?
Whoops, I opened the dictionary because that's what a Mac does.
One minute to go.
Oh, I assumed that actually. You're vegan. Like things are complicated.
You're done? Everything on there? Awesome. Okay.
Is there?
Did we I wanted to be there.
Did you convince someone else to join you?
Yes, but then they got switched to a different team.
That doesn't count. Fine.
Okay.
Would you wear my hat, please?
Time's up.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Awesome. So we already have a winner, but I want to know how much other teams got.
Like, what's
What's the score?
how many points did you guys get?
Is anyone keeping score?
Yeah, but like you can do it now.
Yeah.
What was the name of the team?
Did we make an airplane?
We're not checking, but like scouts on.
Okay.
Ridiculous.
And then you got 25 points for that one.
I asked everyone.
I actually made
Hey, does that
I'll take 15.
But I can't physically force everybody.
It says get. It says get.
Just because we I did try to.
Sixes.
5 points.
Okay, so
20 points. And you got additional
It did actually have to make the airplane Did you over-engineer your airplane?
Yeah, it's not.
How many iterations? Really?
Can you guys tell us your scores?
We did find something.
Yeah.
50 points.
How much?
50.
I usually approximately.
It's
Okay.
too late. Sorry.
Two.
85. I like that.
85. You
I
guys.
think we have 85.
85.
Well,
I'm not scared yet. Okay, you guys.
no, I think we have 100.
We made, yeah. Right, let's see the.
You guys.
20.
You don't necessarily represent.
We got those. We got these looking. And the actual wearing it.
So 9. Okay. We've got a winner, I guess.
Yeah, I mean they finished everything
Yeah.
before time, so I think clear
This
winners.
winner. You guys, thank you for being such a sport.
Yeah, seriously. I
Yeah.
was like, no one's gonna conga line with yes. But so I want to know how you guys decided which task to do first and which task to do at all. In fact, any?
Chaos.
Yeah.
Highest point value tasks first that seemed feasible.
Okay, so the conga line was that the highest one?
Yeah.
Yep. I think getting somebody else to join your team was the highest value. That seemed
Mhm.
less likely, so we started with the conga line.
Mm-hmm. Who did that one? You guys did that one.
Okay, line.
Oh no, the asking someone to join your team.
We did actually get to that too. But
Oh, okay. So, usually like you said, usually when you're trying to decide how to prioritize a task, people tend to see the difficulty of the task as well as how much time it will take. And so obviously you want something that's high yield and low effort versus something that's low yield and high effort. So that was one thing that we wanted to show with this. And the other thing was the group dynamics. Did you guys notice anything within your groups, or did you notice something that was like something that the other group was doing and you weren't, and you decided to do that?
Yeah, we had a project manager.
We didn't pay attention to what the other.
Okay.
but we kind of divided the labor.
Yeah.
You divided, okay. And I know they know each other. Does anyone else know other people in this room?
Yeah. I think.
In your group? Yeah.
No, mental health first.
No. How about you guys? Yeah. No. Okay. So I think this is kind of a mixed group. Generally, we say that if you are in your comfort zone and you know people around you, you're more likely to take risks, and because like you're more comfortable. And when you're in new teams, you may be more risk averse and you want to stay in your comfort zone. So I mean that's another interesting point I thought. Next.
Yeah.
No.
So we're going to discuss about prioritizing tasks using this technique called as Eisenhower Matrix. So President Eisenhower actually created this matrix, and it was later popularized by Stephen Covey in his book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So we're going to talk about that and how do you work with the Eisenhower Matrix for prioritizing tasks.
So this is the matrix. It's really simple. It's basically a square that's divided into 4 quadrants, and it's based on the urgency and the importance of tasks. So any tasks you have at any point, you can put them into one of these categories. So the first quadrant is urgent and important tasks. Second quadrant is not urgent but important tasks. Third one is not important but urgent tasks. And the fourth one is not urgent or important. So in this context, what do you mean by urgent is something that has long-term or urgent is something that cannot be delayed, and important is something that has long-term consequences or like something serious consequences. Yeah. And I know prioritization is very subjective. Different people have different priorities. Something that's important to me may not be important to you, and something that's and also on context, like depending on the context. So if say you want to book a dental appointment, it can go into any of those. Yes, my references are but it can go in any column depending on why you are getting that appointment. Next, I think it's pretty obvious what you're going to do first, because I mean the quadrants are named 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you will do the first quadrant first, second, third, and fourth. But there is a simple thing that's like all B. So you do everything on the first quadrant first. You decide and plan out what's in the second quadrant. You delegate what's in the third quadrant. So say you get an email that is urgent, but it's not important to you. So you can ask someone else to do it. Obviously, not everyone can do that, but Eisenhower could. And quadrant 4 is like time wasters, and you just delete them. Now, quadrant 4 doesn't mean like browsing Reddit for me, because that gives me joy, and that is my de-stressor. So, I mean, quadrant 4 can be something that like checking Facebook all the time, because that is a time waster. So, let's see. Anything in quadrant 2 can turn into a quadrant 1 if you procrastinate or if you delay it long enough. And at any point, you would want more things in quadrant 2 than quadrant 1. I would recommend all of you to go back home and just see, like make a list of things you're supposed to do this week. And if most of your things are quadrant 1, they're the urgent, important things, then you may have to, reevaluate. And this was an interesting quote by Eisenhower. What is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important. We also have this really cool talk about prioritizing that we thought we could say.
When people find out I write about time management, they assume 2 things.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you know how to put that sound on? Totally forgot to plug the sound in. I'm sorry. There it is.
Sorry.
What?
There is somehow.
You have to go and get rest.
Yeah. Maybe yes. Oh, thank you so much. Do you want to? Okay, I'll wait.
Just do it.
Okay. And figure it out.
Yeah.
Your volume's up.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
Let's go in there.
Well, okay, now we're just guessing in the dark.
Yeah.
Just press all the buttons.
Hey, excuse me.
Hi.
Just have to use this instead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That may be very loud.
And the idea is that we'll shave bits of time off everyday activities. Add it
Oh,
up.
yeah. The other way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
When people find out I write about time management, they assume two things. One is that I'm always on time, and I'm not. I have 4 small children, and I would like to blame them for my occasional tardiness, but sometimes it's just not their fault. I was once late to my own speech on time management. We all had to just take a moment together and savor that irony. The second thing they assume is that I have lots of tips and tricks for saving bits of time here and there. And sometimes I'll hear from magazines that are doing a story along these lines, generally on how to help their readers find an extra hour in the day. And the idea is that we'll shave bits of time off everyday activities, add it up, and we'll have time for the good stuff. And I question the entire premise of this piece, but I'm always interested in hearing what they've come up with before they call me. So some of my favorites: doing errands in a way where you only have to make right-hand turns, being extremely judicious in microwave usage, so it says 3 to 3.5 minutes on the package. We are totally getting in on the bottom side of that. And my personal favorite, which makes sense on some level, is to DVR your favorite shows so you can fast forward through the commercials. And that way you save about 8 minutes every half hour. So in the course of 2 hours of watching TV, you find 32 minutes to exercise. Which is true. You know another way to find 32 minutes to exercise? Don't watch 2 hours of TV a day, right? Anyway, the idea is we'll save bits of time here and there, add it up, and we'll finally get to everything we want to do. But after studying how successful people spend their time, and looking at their schedules hour by hour, I think this idea has it completely backward. We don't build the lives we want by saving time. We build the lives we want, and then time saves itself. Here's what I mean. I recently did a time diary project looking at 1,001 days in the lives of extremely busy women. They had demanding jobs, sometimes their own businesses, kids to care for, maybe parents to care for, community commitments, busy, busy people. I had them keep track of their time for a week so I could add up how much they worked and slept, and I interviewed them about their strategies for my book. One of the women whose time log I studied, she goes out for a Wednesday night for something. She comes home to find that her water heater has broken, and there is now water all over her basement. If you've ever had anything like this happen to you, you know it is a hugely damaging, frightening, sopping mess. So she's dealing with the immediate aftermath that night. Next day she's got plumbers coming in. Day after that, professional cleaning crew dealing with the ruined carpet. All this is being recorded on her time log. Winds up taking 7 hours of her week. 7 hours. That's like finding an extra hour in the day. But I'm sure if you had asked her at the start of the week, could you find 7 hours to train for triathlon? Could you find 7 hours to mentor 7 worthy people? I'm sure she would have said what most of us would have said, which is no. Can't you see how busy I am? Yet when she had to find 7 hours because there is water all over her basement, she found 7 hours. And what this shows us is that time is highly elastic. We cannot make more time, but time will stretch to accommodate what we choose to put into it. And so the key to time management is treating our priorities as the equivalent of that broken water heater. And to get at this, I like to use some language from one of the busiest people I ever interviewed. By busy, I mean she was running a small business with 12 people on the payroll. She had 6 children in her spare time. I was getting in touch with her to set up an interview on how she had it all, that phrase. I remember it was a Thursday morning and she was not available to speak with me, of course, right? But the reason she was unavailable to speak with me is that she was out for a hike. Because it was a beautiful spring morning and she wanted to go for a hike. So, of course, this makes me even more intrigued, and when I finally do catch up with her, she explains it like this. She says, listen, Laura, everything I do, every minute I spend is my choice. And rather than say, I don't have time to do X, Y, or Z, she'd say, I don't do X, Y, or Z because it's not a priority. I don't have time often means it's not a priority. If you think about it, that's really more accurate language. I mean, I could tell you I don't have time to dust my blinds, but that's not true. If you offered to pay me $100,000 to go dust my blinds, I would get to it pretty quickly. Since that is not going to happen, I can acknowledge this is not a matter of lacking time. It's that I don't want to do it. Using this language reminds us that time is a choice. And granted, there may be horrible consequences for making different choices. I will give you that. But we are smart people, and certainly over the long run, we have the power to fill our lives with the things that deserve to be there. So how do we do that? How do we treat our priorities as the equivalent of that broken water heater? Well, first we need to figure out what they are. And I want to give you 2 strategies for thinking about this. The first, on the professional side. I'm sure many people coming up to the end of the year are giving or getting annual performance reviews. You look back over your successes over the year, your opportunities for growth. And this serves its purpose, but I find it's more effective to do this looking forward. So I want you to pretend it's the end of next year. You're giving yourself a performance review, and it has been an absolutely amazing year for you professionally. What 3 to 5 things did you do that made it so amazing? So you can write next year's performance review now. And you can do this for your personal life too. I'm sure many of you, like me, come December, get cards that contain these folded up sheets of colored paper, on which is written what is known as the family holiday letter. A bit of a wretched genre of literature, really, going on about how amazing everyone in the household is, or even more scintillating, how busy everyone in the household is. But these letters serve a purpose, which is that they tell your friends and family what you did in your personal life that mattered to you over the course of the year. So this year's kind of done, but I want you to pretend it's the end of next year. And it has been an absolutely amazing year for you and the people you care about. What 3 to 5 things did you do that made it so amazing? So you can write next year's family holiday letter now. Don't send it. Please, don't send it. But you can write it. And now between the performance review and the family holiday letter, we have a list of 6 to 10 goals we can work on in the next year. And now we need to break these down into doable steps. So maybe you want to write a family history. Well, first you can read some other family histories, get a sense for the style. And then maybe think about the questions you want to ask your relatives, set up appointments to interview them. Or maybe you want to run a 5K. So you need to find a race and sign up, and figure out a training plan, and dig those shoes out of the back of the closet. And then, this is key, we treat our priorities as the equivalent of that broken water heater by putting them into our schedules first. And we do this by thinking through our weeks before we are in them. I find a really good time to do this is Friday afternoons. Friday afternoon is what an economist might call a low opportunity cost time. Most of us are not sitting there on Friday afternoon saying, I am excited to make progress toward my personal and professional priorities right now. But we are willing to think about what those should be. So take a little bit of time Friday afternoon, make yourself a 3-category priority list. Career, relationships, self. Making a 3-category list reminds us that there should be something in all 3 categories. Career we think about, relationships, self, not so much. But anyway, just a short list, 2 to 3 items in each. Then look out over the whole of the next week and see where you can plan them in. Where you plan them in is up to you. And I know this is going to be more complicated for some people than others. I mean, some people's lives are just harder than others. It's not going to be easy to find time to take that poetry class if you are caring for multiple children on your own. I get that. And I don't want to minimize anyone's struggle. But I do think that the numbers I am about to tell you are empowering. There are 168 hours in a week. 24 times 7 is 168 hours. That is a lot of time. If you are working a full-time job, so 40 hours a week, sleeping 8 hours a night, so 56 hours a week, that leaves 72 hours for other things. That is a lot of time. You say you're working 50 hours a week, maybe a main job and a side hustle, well, that leaves 62 hours for other things. You say you're working 60 hours, well, that leaves 52 hours for other things. You say you're working more than 60 hours, well, are you sure? There was once a study comparing people's estimated work weeks with time diaries, found that people claiming 75 plus hour work weeks were off by about 25 hours. You can guess in which direction, right? Anyway, in 168 hours a week, I think we can find time for what matters to you. If you want to spend more time with your kids, you want to study more for a test you're taking, you want to exercise for 3 hours and volunteer for 2, you can. And that's even if you're working way more than full-time hours. So we have plenty of time, which is great, because guess what? We don't even need that much time to do amazing things. But when most of us have bits of time, what do? Pull out the phone, right? Start deleting emails, or otherwise we're puttering around the house or watching TV. But small moments can have great power. You can use your bits of time for bits of joy. Maybe it's choosing to read something wonderful on the bus on the way to work. I know when I had a job that required 2 bus rides and a subway ride every morning, I used to go to the library on weekends to get stuff to read. Made the whole experience almost enjoyable. Breaks at work can be used for meditating or praying. If family dinner is out because of your crazy work schedule, maybe family breakfast could be a good substitute. It's about looking at the whole of one's time and seeing where the good stuff can go. I truly believe this. There is time. Even if we are busy, we have time for what matters. And when we focus on what matters, we can build the lives we want in the time we've got. Thank you.
Okay, so we have spoken about how to prioritize tasks and how to go about them, how do you plan those things. But I feel the major difficulty comes when you try to do those things. Like when we are trying to do anything, you just procrastinate, or you're just taking longer than that. Or there are too many distractions, like you're getting some random email, somebody just calls in, and then you're not able to do that. So we come down to this technique called as the Pomodoro Technique, which helps you execute those tasks. So Pomodoro actually means a tomato in Italian. It was designed by Francesco Cirillo, and it is similar to our agile technique in software development, where you break down the tasks in smaller chunks and then reiterate, reflect over them, and then do those again. So for the Pomodoro Technique, the first step is to estimate the time required to do any task. So in any of the tasks, we usually know, or we estimate how much time we're going to need to do these things. Say now to build a presentation, everybody has built a presentation, so we know how much time are we going to need to build a presentation. Or if you're talking in professional terms, when you are doing agile, you give a quote of time, how much that you're going to need. So that's the first thing, that estimate the amount of time required to do that task. The second step would be to break down those tasks into 25-minute slots called Pomodoros. So these slots are basically focused time slots that you are not supposed to be distracted by anything. You keep your cell phone away, you don't check your email, you're just supposed to break down those tasks into 25-minute slots. Like maybe it may be a 3-hour task, so you just break it down into 25-minute slots. So you focus continuously for 25 minutes. So that's a Pomodoro for it. So that's what you do, and after each of the tasks, you take a 5-minute break, because continuously focusing for 3 hours, it's not possible for anyone. For the studies have shown that maximum focus time could be 70 to 90 minutes, but more than that would be very difficult, and our brain would get tired and then need to sleep. So Pomodoros state that after every 25 minutes, you take a 5-minute break to just refresh your brain, maybe meditate or take a walk. And at the end of, like, almost at the last minute of each Pomodoro, you just reflect upon how this task is going. Or just note down that, you know, how much did you complete, so that it helps you plan better for future tasks or similar tasks. So that's what you do. Second, yeah, so that was the third step, was to focus only on one task for 25 minutes and just continue doing that for a more number of Pomodoros. So the step 4 is complete the task through the list of activities which take a longer amount of time. Maybe take 3 or 4 Pomodoros. After 4 of these sprints, you can just take a longer break to refresh yourself again. And eventually you'll find that your focus has been increased, your productivity has increased, and you are able to give time to other things, which, as in the video, that lady said that you can give time to whatever you want. You just need, there's always more time to give to other things. You just need to focus your time and not get distracted while doing some certain activities. So that's where you end it. Like after 4 Pomodoro, you take a break and eventually reach the end of your task and your goal is sorted. Yeah. So that's where we end our presentation. So do you have any questions? Yes?
Do you use any applications either on the desktop or on your phone to help with Pomodoro?
Yeah, there is actually a Pomodoro application available on Android and iOS as well. So it keeps track of those 25 minutes. Or there is another application I have used which is called Tree or Forest. So yeah, so it's basically you set a timer for whatever sprint you want, and in that it shows that it's growing a tree for the 25 minutes. That you are not, if you go away from that screen, the timer is stopped. So you're basically building up a farm. It's like a kind of a gaming thing where you just build up a farm, like, and then in the end you can see the forest of your productivity.
So if you have a bad habit of like using your phone when you're working or something, if you go away from the tree, it like dies.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Comment. We use, well, at least I do, a variation on Pomodoro method. David Strauss, CTO, actually invented it, or came up with the name Vinyl Doro.
Okay.
We have a record collection at the office, and if you want to, a side of a record's about 20 minutes, so you got to get up and flip a record.
Okay.
So it forces you to actually deal with the fact that it's just silence, and if you're working a few minutes in silence, it's fine, but after a while, it's like, where's the music? You got to deal with this.
So that's actually a good technique to de-stress yourself if you're working for long periods of time. Yes?
It's really hard to follow this like when you're tired, you're not motivated, so or is to like help with that and like keep at it despite like not feeling like it.
So I would say, you know, we have these techniques that you write down your goal. So at the start of each Pomodoro, if you write down your goal and if you just start with it, it helps. Like you use an app like the Forest, so your phone is blocked, but you try to put in some effort, and after some point of time, you'll get better at it, hopefully.
I give myself rewards
for
like little things for completing tasks. So I think you need to see, you know, what works for you, and maybe it's like a reward thing or maybe a punishment thing where you're like, if I don't finish this, I'm going to send out an embarrassing text message. I don't know. Whatever works. Yes.
I was just going to say, just to respond to that.
Yeah.
If I'm really super tired or I don't feel well or something like that, I'll often reshuffle my priorities a little just so that, yeah, I know XYZ is actually the most important thing and most urgent thing, but if I just really don't feel up to it, I'll be like, okay, you know what, I'm not going to try to do this badly for a while. I'm going to put this one to the side and tackle this other thing that feels a lot more manageable right now.
Absolutely.
Sometimes.
Yeah, that's
Not
Yeah.
always. Sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's. I think that's a great method because you're like, it's just. I think it's called snowballing, where you start off small. At least if you have a checklist, cross off the silly things, the smaller things, the not so scary things first, and then get to the. Instead of just like stalling on everything. Yeah, that's really good. Thank you. Yes.
Are there any stats out there on how much time is actually wasted?